Right, well, welcome back, champions, and welcome back, soon-to-be doctors or future doctors. Well, before we call you doctors with the DR in front of your name, we've got a bigger challenge ahead of us, which is this. UCAT. We need to build this UCAT. Well, how do we build this UCAT? That's what this video is all about. I've been getting a huge amount of emails upon what is it, I'm stuck on this strategy, I'm stuck on this section, how do we go about doing this? And I've been conversing with all the students who've applied for this premium course also, and I see a common theme running throughout. It is the lack of strategy in terms of preparation. No matter how much I emphasize, it still wouldn't be enough for me to say UCAT is not your GCSE A-level exam. Right? Whether you're a first timer, whether you're a second timer, whether you're a graduate student aiming for UCAT, well, trying to jump the boat, well, great decision, buddy. Right, so how do we go about it? So the biggest challenge, the common theme I see is like people saying, oh, I'm horrible in verbal reasoning, oh, I'm horrible in quants or decision making, blah, 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 blah. Or I'm stuck at this course, or I'm stuck at this score, I'm not able to do that, which is the person has hit a plateau. Right, how do we go about it? Well, let's start the game. So this is all about cracking the UCAT the right way. Strategy is the prime importance. If you don't have a strategy, then we've got issues. Right, here we go. So in here, oh, quite bright colours. I like bright colours here. Now, these are the different flaws in people's strategies, students, candidates who aim for the UCAT. Right, first and foremost, as I say here, you've got to have time on your side. You've got to have time on your side. I don't mean UCAT time, I mean time means, well, I'm hoping you're starting early. The clock is ticking. Well, here we go. We are in the middle of July now. Right, middle of July means most of the candidates in Australia. Well, thank you very much for all the subscribers and emails I've been getting from Australia. Right, so Australian candidates, they're finishing up the UCAT fairly earlier relative to the UK candidates. Australia and New Zealand finish earlier than the UK. Right, first and foremost, well, in those people who are getting emails about, well, how do I go about cracking UCAT? I've got this many weeks left, that many weeks left. But if you've got less than 1 week to go, chances are, sorry to break it to you, if less than 1 week to go, 1.5 weeks to go, there's not as much as you could do now, right? Unless and until you're aiming to subscribe to the UCAT, my crash course, there's the different strategies. Right, anyways, so I'm assuming this video is only meant for those who've got minimum of 4 weeks, minimum of 4 weeks. If you minimum of 4 weeks, ideally looking at 5 or 6 week period. Right, you need to emphasize that UCAT is not like a GCSE. Like I saw some video like it flashed on my YouTube homepage in which it was saying how to crack the UCAT in this many days or this blah 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 blah. And the point is, buddy, you can't, because UCAT involves rewiring your brain. Right, you heard me right. The same strategies which you heard and did in GCSE, sorry, you can't be applying those GCSE strategies. Just remember, GCSE, reading comprehension, verbal reasoning, quant section, GCSE maths, those strategies, time was never a limit. We all of us agree. When they sat for the GCSE or A-level exam, most of us said, oh, I finished the exam, I still had 15 minutes to go. Time was not a problem. And working was always needed. Unlike GCSE or A-levels, now, firstly, time is not on my hand. Everything is time-based. So I have to have strategy. So you have to have ample amount of time because you are trying to learn new ways of problem solving in this one. So time has to be on your side. Minimum, we're looking at 4 weeks and huge amount of practice. Practice, as I say to you, till it becomes a reflex action, right? Next, now the next flaw is, so if you don't have time on your side, then there's an issue, right? Ideally, you're looking at an average score of 700 throughout. Average score of 700 throughout. Average, you know what I mean. Average throughout each and every subsection, which is out of 900. You have to have an average score throughout of 700, right? And verbal reasoning, you can get away with by getting somewhere around 680 plus. And if you can get something around 680 plus, you are head and shoulders above your competition. If you've seen my previous videos where I break it down, how do we actually target the score? This is what, right, number one. Next, let's go on to randomize. Now, what many people do is they say, all right, I've got this Medify MedEntry subscription and I'm trying to attack the question bank. The problem they do is when they attack the question bank, they're just randomizing. All right, today I feel like doing quants. Oh, today I feel like doing verbal. And so on. Now, you cannot randomize it. you have to follow the sequence in one sitting, which you sit for the UCAT. You should have one sitting, minimum of 20 minutes each continuously. So when I say 20 minutes, so you will start with, the first one is you will start with 20 minutes of verbal reasoning, right? Then another slot of, then you will go for another 20 minutes of decision making. Then you've got another 20 minutes of quant. Then you've got another should I say 10 minutes this time of situational judgment. So you cannot randomize it, right? So when you are sitting for the UCAT prep, if you are to prep, you cannot actually, let's suppose you have reached a stage where you said, I've familiarized myself with all the different styles of questions, right? You cannot randomize it. Randomize means, all right, let me do verbal. Oh, today I feel like doing quant. No. You are to include this in your routine, which is, first thing, start with verbal always, 20 minutes of verbal. Right, 20 minutes of verbal, try as many questions as you can, then follow the right sequence. Because what you're trying to do is follow 20 minutes of verbal, 20 minutes of decision, 20 minutes of quants, 10 minutes of situational judgment. What you're trying to do is you're getting your brain used to the style of questions that will be thrown at you, the sequence of questions that will be thrown at you. Hopefully you realize verbal reasoning requires a different part of the brain. Anybody who is a psychology student here listening to this video would know there is a right-hand side of the brain, there's a left-hand side of the brain. Verbal reasoning uses a different side of the brain, right? Left-hand side. Quantitative section, quant section, uses a right-hand side of the brain. So every time, which is lots of numbers based. So whenever you're doing this randomization, it does not help you, number one. This particular stage will only come when you prep, like in the prep stage, as I go down in the next page. Once you say, okay, I've familiarized with style of question, I've got a list of shortcuts and so on. Ready? Okay. Now, moving on to, so randomize, you cannot randomize this, okay. If you are to do it, so let's suppose you, whatever stage you are, okay, you've done your weak section, so that means you've done your weakness, you've attended your weakness. Foremost is attend your weakness. By the end of, depending on where and when you've got your exam, right, by the end of July, minimum of 3 weeks prior to your actual exam day, right, 3 weeks prior, you should have completely shunned out all your weaknesses. Your weaknesses should have become your strengths now. There should be hardly anything, I'm not saying nothing, there should be hardly anything left in your weakness section. So this is what, so once you construct a UCAT, you make a column of, I will talk about in a few minutes when I go to the next slide. Righty, okay. Shortcuts and techniques, right. You have to have knowledge of the shortcuts. As I said to you, you cannot follow any GCSE ways of doing it. Shortcuts, if you are subscribed to any of my programs, I just talk about shortcuts. There's literally a shortcut of each and every style of question. So if I pick something to do, if you've seen any of my previous videos, there's literally a shortcut for each and every different style of quant question. There's literally a shortcut of how to find percentages. You might have seen that. Nu divide by old, take away 1. So that's for percentages. How do I find out the averages? There's a long list of numbers given to me. I won't be sitting down there finding out the averages of all of them. And then he says compare how much is the mean of the first 10 more or less than the mean of the next 10 in 2020, blah, 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 questions like these. You can't be sitting down there started punching numbers, right? Next. At the same time, I always say to you, don't be a calculator addict. Many of the questions in quants or DM particularly would require shortcut knowledge. Just that you know, your brain is faster than your calculator. If you don't know the shortcuts of how to do this, like similarly for verbal reasoning. In verbal reasoning, what have we got? So we've got reading comprehension, we've got TFCs. Now within reading comprehension, there are different styles of questions. You should know the shortcut how to read firstly. As I say to you, there are multiple strategies that are there. I might have discussed in my previous videos or in my program, always go through them. Which is TFC has to be tackled in a different way. TFCs could be anything. So TFCs, you don't really need to look at the options in TFCs. Next, in quant section, before you even attack a question, you have to look at the options. That will determine whether do I need to do approximations, whether I not need to do approximations, or whether do I use a backfeed strategy, or like different, depending on the question. Firstly, every time you look at a quant section, mind you, I'm only talking about quant right now. If you look at a quant section, what do? Right, straight away, before you do that, what's the aim? Right, first 15 seconds, you need to look for the SAD strategy. What is SAD strategy? S-A-D. SAD strategy literally means, in the first 15 seconds, do I have to skip, attempt, or dump the question? That's what the aim is. Number one, 15 seconds gone. You've read the question. They said, boom, I think so, I know the strategy. I talk about solving quant sections and DM in waves. So you would know if you're part of my program in which we said, you don't do it in one go, right? You do it in waves, wave 1 and wave 2. Ready? Okay, so shortcuts and techniques you need to know. Similarly, when I look at my verbal reasoning, you have to have emphasis on TFC questions more than reading comprehension questions. RC is reading comprehension, TFC true, false, can't tell. So TFCs, there'll be 16 questions that will be thrown at us. The strategy to talk about to attack a TFC question is very different compared to a strategy for reading comprehension. And people just keep on talking about something called scanning technique. Right, buddy, just remember, scanning technique cannot be used each and every single time. Each and every type of passage, each and every type of each and every type of decision-making question, you don't use a scanning technique. Sometimes you use elimination technique, right? Sometimes it's just the way you read the passage is very different. If it's a TFC question, or if it's a reading comprehension question, you use different strategies called slicing, bulleting, mental paraphrasing, mental cataloging, visualization. We talk about different strategies of how to attack a reading comprehension question. Ready? Okay, next. Second, now, the fourth one, I beg your pardon, aimlessness. What do I mean by aimless? This is one of the biggest flaws. People just keep on practicing on Medify, MedEntry, or whatever question bank they have. They just keep on practicing aimlessly. You need to know, if you are given a task to complete, if I were to say to you, can you complete this task? He says, what is the task to complete? You need to know what's the goal. You need to know, similarly, for each and every subsection, verbal reasoning, be it quant, be it decision, be it situational judgment, you need to know what is the goal you're looking for, right? For example, if I'm giving you when I say a goal, that means for verbal reasoning, out of 44, what is the goal you're looking at? How much do I need to score? Just that you know, getting 44 out of 44 is next to impossible. If that was the case, everybody would have been getting, or a small percentage of the students would have been getting 3,600. I'm talking about pre-2025, where it used to be 3,600. Everybody would have been getting 44 out of 44. No, it's not possible. Getting 44 out of 44, but I can tell you that getting 900 out of 900 is very possible in quants. 900 out of 900 is very possible, or thereabouts, in decision making. But in verbal reasoning, you need to watch my previous videos where I talk about what is the goal for each and every subsection. You need to know the goal. What score am I looking at? It's not just aimlessly looking for trying out verbal reasoning or decision-making question. Right, then you say, all right, I've hit that goal. How do I pump it up? Right, so you set weekly targets in preparation wise. So we'll talk about it. So aimlessness does not mean also does not mean you're just randomly just doing questions for the sake of it. You don't even know your strengths and weaknesses. This is where I talk about prep bias. Many people say, oh, I'm enjoying quant section. Oh, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying verbal. Right? There are more people who don't enjoy verbal compared to those who enjoy verbal. So many people would have a prep bias because they are really good in quants or DM or verbal. The prep bias, literally, I mean by they're more biased towards quant. But you're wasting time. Why not invest time in something in which your overall score would be pumped up? Preparation bias, prep bias, that's what I call it. Because you're good in quants does not mean you need to keep on spending time. Yes, it depends, right? Let's suppose the target score of quant section, let's suppose I'm giving you a target score of quant section, is you've got 28, quant section particularly, 28 out of 36 is your target score. Now, if you're consistently hitting the target score of 28 out of 36 in quant section, all right, take a break, buddy. Let's focus on something else. Let's focus on verbal. Let's focus on DM, right? That means if it is a strength right now in the first few weeks, so you need to set weekly targets in the first few weeks, which is till the end of July, by the way. At least 3 weeks before, you should, as I said to you a moment ago, you should be completely done and dusted with your weaknesses. Then there will be other challenges to face. So aimlessness means, number one, you should not be aimless, by the way. You have to have an aim. What's the aim? How far are you from the target raw score? Right, out of 44 for verbal reasoning. Look at my previous videos where I talk about is what is a score. You need to set a score. How much is a raw score, you call it? Raw score. Out of 44 in verbal, how much do I need 35? Out of 35 in DM, how much do I need in quants? Right? Number one. Number two, when you sit down for your session or prep for UCAT, right? Aim for your weaknesses first, right? Aim for your weaknesses. How far are you from the target score? That's the next. You have to have the right strategy. As I said to you before, everything is about strategy. Strategy equals smart work, not hard work. You might have seen, everybody might have known somebody at the other. They said, oh, how come that guy is just effortlessly ends up getting A's or A stars in GCSE's A levels? Right? How did that person do it? Well, that person is using smart work. It's not about, okay, it is tiny bit to do with intellect, but at the same time it's more to do with strategy, which is strategy buys you time. It's not always the donkey work. You just keep on slogging it out without knowing. So you have to have the right strategy. Strategy for verbal reasoning is, as I said to you, every question has a different strategy of doing it. Literally each and every question has a different strategy of reading. The way everything starts with reading, how quickly you can read, how quickly you can comprehend, how quickly you can absorb, how quickly you can recollect information, particularly for verbal reasoning. And based on that, oh, how quickly can I read? Oh, how quickly can I absorb? So there you go. There comes a different strategy, slicing, bulleting, blah, 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 in verbal reasoning. So similarly for quant section, what strategy are you using? So you have to have the right strategy. It is nothing to do with GCSE. GCSE methods of problem solving, whether it's verbal, quant, and so on, they will not help you. No matter, even if sad to say, I'll say it repeatedly, even in my videos, if you've seen it, Medify Medentry, they don't always give us the optimum ways of problem solving. It is a long-winded ways. Time is of essence, buddy. Can't be doing that. Now, when you start, so that aim list is done, strategies talk about, no GCSE prep bias, don't focus time, invest time in something you are getting nearer to the target score, focus something which you are far away from the target score. That section, practice, practice, practice. Now, don't always start off with timing it. Don't. I see that people straight up when they pick up Medify Medentry, they say, boom, let me start with a time test. No, number one. Number two, don't straight away, now is not the time, if depending on what level you reach. I'll talk about a few levels of preparation that you will see. So don't straight away shoot off by doing time tests. No, you are adding undue pressure on yourself. So, because what you need to do is you need to familiarize yourself with the different styles of question, different subsections, different strategies, and so on. So don't shoot off by like timing yourself. Don't do time tests next. Do not straight away start with the mock tests. Right, the one-off mock test right at the start of the prep, you should do a mock test. Right, okay, that way you get an idea of, okay, this is how UCAT looks and feels and smells like. Right, so don't shoot off. Next, now let's start with the next bit. Now, these are the different levels of preparation that you need to go to, depending on which level you are at. So L1, level 1, L2, level 2, L3, level 3, L4, level 4, level 5, level 6, level 7, level 8. There are different levels. Each and every student hits a different level. Ready? Now, let's see. Level 1. Level 1 is a student who's just for the first time been exposed to UCAT. This student has got no background in UCAT. It's the first time, never seen UCAT, never done a time test before where the clock is ticking on the top right-hand side of the corner. Right, okay, so what would this student do who's in level 1? Right, hoping time is with you. Hoping time is with you. If you are starting late in your prep, then, buddy, there's a different strategy of doing it. You can't. Then we have to focus. Well, look into different ways of doing it. So if you want to go for the crash course and so on, whichever one. Right, familiarize. What do I mean by familiarize yourself? When you familiarize yourself, you said, okay, what are the styles of questions that I get in verbal reasoning? Okay, so verbal reasoning. Okay, what are the styles of question I get in DM? Verbal. What are the different styles of question I end up getting in the quant section, and different styles of question I get in situational judgment? Right. So once you are familiarizing yourself with the different styles of questions, you said, okay, that's this. Within the verbal reasoning section, then you go to the next one, within the level 1. Okay, within verbal reasoning, there are different styles of questions, right? Within verbal reasoning, there's a section of RC, reading comprehension, the section of TFC, right? Find what are you comfortable with, right? Next, within reading comprehension, there are different styles of question, which is what conclusions can be based, which is recollection question, definition question, identifying questions, what inference-based questions, which of the following the author is least likely to agree, which of the following author is less likely to agree. Once you familiarize yourself, these are the questions. Similarly, in decision-making. Right? In decision-making, you know what are the different styles of questions. The different topics that would be covered in decision-making, you should know. There's syllogism. Oh, my strategy has to be in syllogism. I keep on repeating literally each and every video. Syllogism, syllogism, syllogism. I have to attack syllogisms. So syllogisms, probs, Venn diagrams. You got tickle strategy, which is inference, whatever you call. I call it tickle strategy, which is recognizing assumptions, and lastly, logical reasoning. Right? Okay. So within syllogisms, then there is a different style of question, which is all, few, none, and so on. Similarly, with the second style of syllogism question, where data-intensive questions, they can throw at you graphs, graphs, histograms, pie charts. You need to have a different strategy for that. Next, then there's a text-based question. They give you a passage, right? Next. How to attack then within the all, sorry, it's just going into detail. Within all, nothing, all, no, none, few, many questions, there's different styles of questions again. Right, so you are trying to familiarize yourself with the difference. So do not, as I said to you before, start timing it. Familiarize yourself. Once you familiarize yourself, every time you familiarize yourself with, you need to document it. What? Oh, right, this is the style of question. When you document it, what I mean by, okay, verbal reasoning has reading comprehension and TFCs. Within reading comprehension, there are 3 or 4 styles of questions. First, there's a scientific passage. How do I attack a scientific passage? It's a different strategy. Historical passage, editorial passage. How do I attack? Oh, these are the different styles of passages. Next, within each of them, there's the historical passage. What conclusions can be made from the author? What conclusions can be made from the passage? Author is most like you are documenting each and every style of question and what are your strengths and weaknesses. It is not about literally, all right, I did a test, I did a set of 10 questions, 20 questions, 30 questions in quants or verbal or DM. Right, there you go. Oh, I performed good or bad or funny. Right, then just move on. No, you need to document. Once you document, say, okay, this is the style of question I'm absolutely good at, and this is the style of question that I'm literally rubbish at. That rubbishness is a gold mine. That rubbishness needs to be converted into a gem question, which is, I need to make, this is how you end up getting a competitive advantage over the others. Because if one question is given to you, what is a gem question? A gem question is the one question which is easy. Anybody with basic knowledge of UCAT should be able to crack that question. And that question, which is the easy question, any and every person will be able to crack it. That doesn't give you an added advantage, does it? How do you get advantage over the competition? Or a question which is not that easy or rather difficult, and many people would get stuck on it, skip it, dump it altogether. When they skip it and dump it, but do you have another shorter way of attacking that question? That's what gives you a competitive advantage. Next, you are good at quant. You are good in decision. Maybe you're not good at verbal reasoning. Oh, because you're not good at verbal reasoning, majority of the crowd is not good at verbal reasoning. Because majority of the crowd is not good at verbal reasoning, how do I get a competitive advantage? Become better than the crowd. So every time this is how you end up getting a competitive, this is called competitive analysis, competition analysis. Where do you stand compared to the crowd? So document each and everything right. What style of question you're always getting it wrong or getting it right. If you're getting it right, okay. It's not about getting it right. So I was having a conversation with one of those members of Build the UCAT community. She subscribed for the premium course, for Build the UCAT premium course. So I was doing that one-to-one session with her, in which she came up with, sorry, I'm not allowed to drop her name. If she's listening, she knows that. She said, oh, I'm fine with quant. I was like, okay, if you're fine with quants, how are you doing it? Now, an easy question which I found in a flaw in her strategy, she said, I'm not able to pump up my, because she's already hit the target score of 28 out of 36. Then she was saying, and my question to her is, if you're really good with minimal effort, why don't we make you have you absolute dominance in quant section? She said, how do I do it? I keep on getting stuck at 26, 28. Then I said, okay, what do you do? I ended up throwing a few questions at her. So how would you do it? Whoa, the biggest problem in her strategy was she finds it easy, right? But if you find that question easy, how do I get another competitive advantage? The crowd might be able to do this question the easy question in 45 seconds, but you should have a better way of doing that question 15 seconds. That's competitive analysis. So that's a different level where you reach, which I will talk about it. So that means once you've reached a section, it says, how good am I? If it isn't easy, firstly, get rid of the weaknesses, right? Document your weaknesses. Oh, yes, I'm getting better with my weaknesses are becoming my strength. Next, then you target the easy bits. The easy bits mean, oh, that is an easy one, but can I actually have the right speed and accuracy? Am I sometimes fumbling and tumbling on the easy sitter questions? This is what I mean by accuracy and speed. If it's an easy question, you're getting it right, but are you getting it right in the minimum amount of time? Next, strategies and shortcuts talk about you need to have, once you familiarize yourself, you document it. You've done that. Okay, I'm getting it right. Next, you're not timing it yet, by the way. Then you go on for, are there better ways of doing it? If you're part of my program, you would know everything about my programs, about strategies and shortcuts. I talk about, I'm getting it, but is there a better way of doing it? Is there a faster way of doing it, giving me accuracy and speed? So you need to find ways yourself which is that gives you, is there a faster way of doing it? Is it a quicker way of doing it? It's all about time and accuracy. Next. Once you've ironed out, familiarized yourself, you've documented, converted your weaknesses, are beginning to convert into strengths, as I told you, and the easy bits that you've got, are you able to do it in faster ways of doing it, accuracy and speed, strategies and shortcut? Then you start from now. Then you start here, which is start doing the time section. Next, within UCAT, if you are doing in a quant section, I've seen a normal thing, quantum decision making, particularly for quant section, there's a pattern or medify med entry and so on. What I observe is if you choose at the whole 10 sets of questions, these question banks are most likely to throw at you a mix of easy questions. Depending on which level you are, if you choose a shorter set of questions, which is 4 sets of questions, that particular website, question bank, is most likely to throw difficult questions at you. Next. So if you choose all 10, all right, time your section, say, oh yes, I'm getting it right. You need to become, the weakness, as I said to you, should become your strength. You need to be exposed to the harder questions, accuracy and speed. Find ways of doing shortcuts and that can speed up your accuracy and speed. Time section. Once you've done all of that, then you start your time section. Within time section, this is where you begin to see certain plateaus. You will definitely become stagnant, as that girl was. What was her weakness? There's always a limiting factor. The limiting factor was there was some style of question, but she was rereading it. That's the most common bit. People end up rereading the question. That means the person is rereading the question the first time. The person is rereading the question, this person hasn't attempted too many questions. This comes with practice, number one. Second limiting factor has to be the person is not able to, so plateau can be limiting factors, which is your solving strategy, which is your reading strategy. Majority of the times I observe when I talk to those students who do one-to-one, it is the reading strategy is a problem. SAD, skip, attempt and dump strategy. Once you've mastered all them, then you go for the full marks. In between you can. Next, verbal reasoning is here. Now, within verbal reasoning, sorry, I'm rushing through it because looking at the clock. Right, so scanning. Right, people, just realize scanning does not always work. Please tell me, ask yourself, for a conclusion-based question, will scanning work? For an inference-based question, will scanning work? For all of the following are true except questions, will scanning work? Don't tell me for that particular type, which of the following is true or false. For that particular type of question, are you going to read the whole passage 4 times? Are you going to scan the whole, there are 4 options, are you going to scan the whole thing 4 times? It does not always work. Scanning only works for a select few types of questions. Scanning most likely might get you away with a TFC question. Scanning might get you away for a question which is to do with defined questions. So there you go. Next, this is where you need to get down to RC versus TFC. Right. So there are different types. RC questions, types of DFC. So as I said to you, definition. What are the types of definition questions? This is where scanning could work. Right. Next, a list question where he gives you a list of items. Which of the following is not present in the list? Which of the following were not the sons? Which of the following were not the countries occupied by the Romans and so on? Historical passage. There's a different way of attacking a conclusion-based question, different way of attacking inference-based questions. It is not always the direct option you need to choose. Right. Okay. Sorry, this is for the members only section. Right, okay, let's quickly see if there's a long slide. Next, a quantitative section. Right, as I said to you before, there has to be minimal use of the calculator. As soon as you do a quantitative question, you read the question, you straight away look at the option. Don't start computing straight away. 5 options are there. Then that will help you decide, should I approximate, should I not approximate? What should I use? Should I use a multiple strategy? Should I use a first digit strategy? Should I use a last digit strategy? Should I use conversion? Should I backfeed? Use my options, blah, 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 blah. So each and every shortcut, you need to know shortcuts. It will only come with practice and so on. What shortcuts? So you should have a question bank. Literally each and every question in quant requires a shortcut. Right. There are long data intensive questions people tend to miss out. No, you don't necessarily need to miss out. The first 2 questions are always in the last, where a lot of data given to you, a lot of histogram given to you, pie chart given to you, table given to you. You don't necessarily need to skip that. The first 2 questions are always doing. Right, so there we go. So here we are. So the idea is this was just to familiarize yourself how to actually go through the UCAT prep. Many people commit these mistakes. Make sure not to commit these mistakes. Righty, guys. And sorry, one last thing. I would not be able to. People send me emails about individual questions because there's so many people around. I can't sit down here individually start prepping or answering each of them. Righty, okay, guys. Promo code is available. Give me a shout if you need any promo code, promotional code. Bye for now.